Hello and welcome to the Collapse Experiment. So today's video is about the Clintons, and a Secret Service officer discloses his first-hand experience with Hillary, Bill, and how they operate, by Gary J. Byrne, former presidential Secret Service officer. This book is Crisis of Character. So, spoiler, not very exciting. So I'm going to read from chapter 9, which covers Oklahoma City, the bombing there. And this chapter alone shows a lot of reasons why this book is, in my opinion, primarily fiction. And there's a few other things about this that I will discuss after this. So, reading from the book here, April 19th, 1995. Betty Curry waved me into her office. A few staffers stared at her small television set. President Clinton hadn't yet arrived, though I was sure he'd already gotten the news. We didn't need CNN to tell us what we saw. A massive bomb had exploded at downtown Oklahoma City's Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Only half the building remained. It's really like 2/3, 3/4, depending on what you want to say, but half was smoking rubble. We all thought somebody seriously screwed up, but hardly anyone spoke. This was an attack on the federal building. This was an attack on us. Maybe I shouldn't say it, but the ugly, bitter truth is that whenever a tragic, horrific attack happens, I feel vindicated. Okay, weirdo. All of those like me do. We signed up to stop people like these monsters. We think about that every day. Most other people go about their lives and forget. Incidents like this remind them of the terrible risk society faces. That April morning, 168 persons were murdered just for doing their jobs. Each casualty was someone exactly like us. There was a lot of civilians in the building as well. I just happened to be in D.C. They just happened to be in Oklahoma City. I recalled the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. The other thing I'd like to point out at this point is that funny how the ATF wasn't there. The White House sprang into high alert. So did every military and federal installation. I tried to keep a good humor. Some Middle Eastern country is getting bombed tomorrow, I let slip. And I find this phrase here interesting because there's a lot of speculation that the operation that resulted in the Oklahoma City bombing was meant to be focused on Middle Eastern countries, especially Iraq. So I think it's interesting that he added this in here. A voice behind me said, "Well, not so fast, young man. It could be domestic, but we'll get this sorted out," said Mr. President Bill Clinton. I was mortified. "Sorry, sir," I said, turning to keep my head low and dismissing myself. Again, it could be domestic. How? How would the president know right away not to assume that it wasn't Middle Eastern? I mean, everything about the Oklahoma City bombing, aside from who was arrested and the people implicated, kind of pointed to the MO of known operations at the time for Middle Eastern terrorists. So it is interesting. It could be domestic. The words of Bill Clinton. I asked a nearby PPD agent if we had a field office there. Yeah, he bit the side of his mouth and added, and I believe this whole conversation here is 100% made up. I believe it's just propaganda. There was also an all-agency daycare at the bottom floor for any agent to drop off their kids for free daycare, too. Perk of the job, he added sorrowfully. Politicians love to add the whole daycare. The daycare was really, that was a big focal point for political gain, right? You could talk about the agents and the civilians that were killed in the in the operation. You could talk about that, but the sympathy really lied with the daycare. And as we know from the Epstein files, they really don't care about kids, especially other people's kids. You really think they wouldn't blow up a place with a daycare center? If anything, they're crying and whining that jerky supplies are being cut and there's fewer options on the island. We later learned our field office was the attacker's target. 100% bullshit right here. Secret Service, they were not targeting the Secret Service. They were targeting A, the federal government, B, ATF, C, FBI. But no, primarily, as the story goes, it was the ATF, which I don't even know if that necessarily is true with what I believe happened with the Oklahoma City bombing. I think the building itself was just the target, and it was for whatever political gain could be acquired afterwards. But no, we later learned our field office, the Secret Service field office, was the attacker's target. Bullshit. 100%. Every UD officer checked their gun box and fat kit and made ready. The Secret Service closed Pennsylvania Avenue, 15th Street, and 17th Street. Everyone asked, what if, and came up short on answers. Concrete barriers on a portion of Pennsylvania Avenue created a permanent pedestrian-only area, but DC streets were never designed for this, and the move bewildered and frankly scared visitors and tourists. After Oklahoma City, the value placed on our warnings increased, if only for a time. And that is pretty much the end of what he talks about, and yet the chapter goes on for 10 more pages of nothing to do with Oklahoma City. And yet the chapter is Oklahoma City. So I'd like to point out, poorly written book. I don't believe this individual actually wrote it. And why do I say that? Because this gem was written and published. It was published by Hatchet Books, 2016. Now, who on the cover was doing something on 2016? There was somebody running for office on 2016. So I think this guy, I think a ghostwriter, with the help of this guy, had this book come out because everybody's curious about what the Secret Service is going to say about the Clintons with, you know, the archicides and the deletion list, if you will, for people who are very close to the Clintons. Why so many people who are close to the Clintons decide to self-delete? Who knows? But this thing, fiction, complete garbage, only goes to show that they're still actively, as of 2016, trying to cover up what really happened. Can't even get their story straight with this piece of propaganda. And I'm glad I didn't pay for it. I got this book for free. Found it not really worth the free either. This is getting donated again. I'm not even keeping this. There's absolutely nothing in here worth contributing towards research on the Oklahoma City bombing or anything else for that matter. So yeah, that's about it. That's what you get from this book. Keep on typing.